The Lakers could be on the verge of several franchise-defining decisions. A potential reunion between Luka Doncic and Daniel Gafford is gaining momentum. Another young center has emerged as a serious trade target, and LeBron James is once again at the center of speculation involving the Miami Heat. Meanwhile, an unexpected Nikola Jokic development could have major implications for the Lakers' future. Before we dive into the details, subscribe to SkyHook Report for daily Lakers news, trade rumors, and exclusive updates. Let's get started. Luka Doncic has officially drawn a line in the sand with the Los Angeles Lakers front office, issuing a very clear directive for this offseason. Go out and get me an elite, athletic big man to anchor the paint, or this grand experiment is going to fail. We all know that a superstar point guard of Luka's caliber requires a very specific type of roster construction to maximize his brilliance. He needs the ultimate vertical spacing threat, a player who can catch lobs in traffic, dive hard to the rim out of the pick and roll, and clean up the glass while serving as a menacing rim protector on the defensive end. And who better to fill that massive void than a player Luka already has established undeniable championship-level chemistry with? Enter Dallas Mavericks center Daniel Gafford. Just 2 summers ago, Doncic and Gafford were an absolute terror in the Western Conference, systematically picking apart defenses on their way to an NBA Finals appearance against the Boston Celtics. But the landscape in Dallas has shifted dramatically. The Mavericks are now aggressively resetting their entire franchise timeline, entering a long-haul rebuild centered around young phenom Cooper Flagg. As part of this teardown strategy, Dallas is highly motivated to offload veterans and accumulate draft capital. Gafford, who is currently sitting on a hefty $54 million contract that runs through the next 3 seasons, has emerged as one of the most intriguing trade targets on the market. But prying him away from Mark Cuban's front office isn't going to be cheap, and this is where the conflict for Rob Pelinka truly begins. According to a detailed report by NBA insider Jake Fisher on the Stein line, there is a significant standoff regarding Gafford's trade value. Earlier this year, the Atlanta Hawks showed heavy interest in the 27-year-old center, but absolutely refused to part with anything more than second-round draft compensation. The Mavericks, however, are stubbornly holding the line. League sources confirm that Dallas actively tried to flip Gafford for a guaranteed first-round pick during the NBA draft, but failed to generate a single offer. Now, the Lakers are sitting on multiple tradable first-round picks and future pick swaps that they could easily utilize to close the deal. Gafford is coming off a highly productive campaign, averaging nearly 10 points and 7 rebounds, while adding 1.3 blocks a night. Standing at 6'10" and weighing 265 pounds, his bouncy athleticism is the exact profile the Lakers are desperately hunting to backstop the new dynamic backcourt of Doncic and Austin Reeves. From an analytical perspective, evaluating this trade package forces the Lakers to answer some incredibly tough questions about asset management and salary cap flexibility. Is giving up a valuable, unprotected first-round pick for a non-shooting center making $18 million a year a massive overpay in today's second-apron NBA economy? The alternative options on the open market are incredibly bleak. The Lakers have heavily scouted Walker Kessler, but because he is a restricted free agent, the Utah Jazz are fully expected to match any offer sheet, which would tie up Lakers' cap space for days and cause them to miss out on other free agents. New York Knicks center Mitchell Robinson is another viable backup plan, assuming the Knicks refuse to dip into the second luxury tax apron to retain him. But neither of those players brings the built-in institutional knowledge and immediate on-court synergy that Gafford shares with Doncic. So the clock is ticking for Rob Pelinka. Do you cave to Dallas's steep asking price and sacrifice your limited draft capital to reunite Luka with his favorite lob threat? Or do you call their bluff and risk entering the season without a true anchor in the middle? The Los Angeles Lakers are currently staring down a massive roster construction nightmare, and the clock is loudly ticking to keep their newly acquired franchise cornerstone from hitting the panic button. Luka Doncic is patiently waiting for the front office to honor his direct request, or perhaps demand is the much more accurate terminology here, to secure an A-list big man. As the frantic chaos of NBA free agency approaches, the pressure on Rob Pelinka is reaching an absolute fever pitch. For the second consecutive summer, the glaring hole at the starting center position sits firmly at the very top of the Lakers' priority list. Last year, the franchise took a massive swing and a miss, rolling the dice on DeAndre Ayton. We all saw how that unfolded. The experiment failed miserably, the defensive rotations were a disaster, and the organization quickly realized that Ayton is absolutely not the long-term answer. Now, the Lakers are desperately scouring the trade market, but they are running into massive roadblocks at every single turn. For months, the two names most heavily linked to a Hollywood arrival were Detroit Pistons physical specimen Jalen Duren and Utah Jazz shot-blocking machine Walker Kessler. Both young bigs seemed poised for a change of scenery. However, a crushing new report from Clutch Point's NBA insider Brett Siegel reveals that the Lakers' chances of landing either of these highly coveted targets are effectively dead in the water. According to league sources, despite profound interest from Los Angeles, Jalen Duren is simply not viewed as a realistic option, and the situation with Walker Kessler is arguably even more frustrating. Kessler is entering restricted free agency, and Danny Ainge and the Utah Jazz front office have absolutely no intention of letting him walk. Kessler himself wants a long-term deal in Salt Lake City, meaning the Lakers' multiple attempts to trade for him have been completely stonewalled. This devastating trade update severely cripples the Lakers' offseason blueprint. By all accounts, Los Angeles simply cannot afford to enter the grueling 2026-27 campaign with the exact same underwhelming collection of big men. Rolling out a frontcourt rotation of DeAndre Ayton and Jackson Hayes again wouldn't just put a massive damper on their chances of surviving the bloodbath that is the Western Conference, it would deeply alienate Doncic. Despite dealing with severe spacing issues and a lack of a true pick-and-roll partner last year, Doncic still produced a monster statistical season and dragged this flawed roster to over 50 wins. But the fact remains, the big man market is completely drying up for the second year in a row. With no elite centers hitting unrestricted free agency, Los Angeles is going to be forced into an uncomfortable sign-in trade or an overpay on the secondary market. Remaining fallback options like Robert Williams III and Miles Turner carry significant injury risks or massive price tags. When you break down the basketball implications of this center crisis, you realize exactly why this has completely overshadowed the LeBron James contract saga. A true rim-protecting, lob-catching center doesn't just improve the defense, it entirely unlocks the geometry of the Lakers' half-court offense. When Doncic has a vertical threat dragging the opposing rim protector deep into the paint, it forces the weak side corner to tag the roller, instantly creating the wide-open three-point looks that Austin Reeves and the wing shooters thrive on. Without that interior gravity, the offensive spacing collapses, and Doncic is forced into heavily contested isolation basketball. The front office knows that maximizing Luka's prime requires elite structural support, but with their top targets officially off the board and rival general managers refusing to do them any favors, the Lakers are backed into a dangerous corner. So the question that will define this entire offseason is this: can Rob Pelinka pull a rabbit out of his hat and find the perfect complementary big man, or will the Lakers waste another historic year of Luka Doncic's prime due to a catastrophic lack of frontcourt talent? Could the greatest player of this generation actually walk away from the Los Angeles Lakers over a $15 million contract dispute, setting off a massive seismic shift in the NBA's balance of power? Right now, the Lakers are standing at the most critical crossroads of this entire decade, facing a reality that could alter the franchise's trajectory for years to come. Coming off an absolutely incredible age 42 season, where LeBron James defied Father Time yet again, averaging nearly 21 points, over 7 assists and 6 boards, while leading Los Angeles to a gritty first-round playoff victory over the Houston Rockets, you would naturally assume that securing his return to the purple and gold would be the undisputed top priority. However, the harsh reality of the modern NBA salary cap, the restrictive nature of the new collective bargaining agreement, and the ruthless nature of championship windows has forced the front office to make a dramatic pivot. The Los Angeles Lakers are officially transitioning into the Luka Doncic in Austin Reeves era. This structural shift is where the tension in the locker room in the front office is rapidly reaching a boiling point. Los Angeles currently has significant roster holes to fill, specifically needing to acquire a rim-running, rim-protecting center and versatile 3-and-D wings with size who can perfectly complement Doncic's elite playmaking gravity. To acquire those crucial rotational pieces and build a legitimate contender in the Western Conference, Rob Pelinka in the management team might have to prioritize restricted free agents or aggregate salaries for a blockbuster trade package. But here is the brutal truth of the situation. If the Lakers allocate their financial resources elsewhere and present LeBron with a take-it-or-leave-it low-ball offer, it could deeply offend the four-time MVP. Alienating a legend of his stature is a highly dangerous game, especially when rival executives across the league are smelling blood in the water and preparing their own pitches. According to a recent report from NBA insider Jovan Buha on The Colin Cowherd Show, there's a very real developing scenario where negotiations completely sour between the two sides. If the Lakers inform LeBron that they only have the $15.1 million non-taxpayer mid-level exception left for his services, he might just pack his bags and head to South Beach. The Miami Heat have suddenly emerged as a massive threat to steal him away. Following their own earth-shattering acquisition of Giannis Antetokounmpo, Pat Riley and the Heat have severely depleted their draft coffers and roster depth, but they can clear the necessary mid-level exception to bring LeBron back to the franchise where he won his first 2 rings. And if Miami doesn't secure his signature, the Golden State Warriors are aggressively lurking in the shadows, monitoring the situation closely in case they strike out on a younger star target like Jaylen Brown. The whispers around the league, echoing all the way from Clutch Sports, heavily suggest there are multiple outcomes on the table, and many plugged-in insiders now believe it is more likely than not that LeBron actually leaves Los Angeles rather than finishing his career in Staples Center. Looking at this from a pure basketball analysis standpoint, this presents the ultimate risk versus reward scenario for the Lakers' immediate championship hopes. On one hand, tying up massive cap space in an aging superstar limits your future flexibility, severely restricting your ability to surround Luka Doncic with the two-way role players he desperately needs to navigate the brutal gauntlet of the Western Conference playoffs. On the other hand, losing LeBron James for nothing in free agency, especially to a legitimate title contender like the Heat or the Warriors, removes the ultimate veteran presence, a high IQ floor general, and a stabilizing force from your rotation. If the Lakers let LeBron walk, the championship pressure on Doncic and Reeves to carry this franchise completely on their shoulders becomes astronomical. It forces the front office into a desperate corner where every subsequent free agency signing or trade package must be an absolute home run. The margin for error essentially drops to zero in a loaded conference. So the ultimate question for Lakers Nation right now is this: do you sacrifice the depth of the supporting cast to give LeBron the legacy contract he feels he deserves, or do you let the King walk away to build the perfect modern roster around your new franchise cornerstone in Luka Doncic?
What if I told you that the most unstoppable offensive duo in the history of the sport is secretly plotting a Hollywood takeover that would absolutely shatter the NBA as we know it? The landscape of the Western Conference could be on the verge of a historic realignment, and the Los Angeles Lakers are positioning themselves directly in the center of the storm. For months, the idea of pairing Luka Doncic with his close personal friend Nikola Jokic seemed like nothing more than a wild fantasy drummed up on sports talk radio. Jokic has repeatedly stated his desire to remain a Denver Nugget for his entire career, establishing himself as a franchise cornerstone and a 3-time MVP. However, the dynamics in Denver are suddenly shifting, and a terrifying scenario for the Nuggets front office is beginning to unfold. Denver is currently facing an incredibly sticky cap situation and a depleted supporting cast, running out of actionable moves to upgrade the roster around their superstar. If the Nuggets suffer another disappointing early first-round playoff exit, the patience of their franchise player might finally run out. This is where the tension begins to escalate to a boiling point. According to a massive report from NBA insider Jake Fisher, Jokic is strongly considering delaying his contract extension talks this summer. Instead of locking in long-term right now, the Joker knows he holds all the leverage and holds a massive player option heading into the 2027 season. By refusing to sign an extension heading into the final guaranteed years of his deal, Jokic is effectively putting the Nuggets front office on the clock. It's a power play we just witnessed unfold with Giannis Antetokounmpo in Milwaukee, where a superstar applies maximum pressure to force management's hand, ultimately leading to a departure when the team can't deliver.
If Jokic officially declines to extend, the Nuggets risk losing the greatest player in their franchise history in unrestricted free agency, with absolutely zero return. The moment those extension talks stall, Jokic transforms into the biggest flight risk in the entire association. And make no mistake, if he hits the open market, all 29 opposing teams will be lining up to back up the Brinks truck. But there is arguably no destination more appealing than Los Angeles. Luka Doncic and Nikola Jokic have an incredibly tight bond, and if Jokic decides his time in the Mile High City is over, the Lakers instantly become the frontrunners to land his services. Fans already know that number 77 would use his massive influence within the organization to greenlight whatever trades, salary dumps, or draft asset liquidations are necessary to acquire his friend. Analyzing a pure basketball fit here is almost comical because it would instantly break the league. The Lakers would boast the greatest half-court offense in the history of the NBA. Pairing Doncic's elite pick-and-roll mastery and perimeter gravity with Jokic's otherworldly passing from the elbows and post dominance creates an unsolvable puzzle for opposing defenses. Teams simply wouldn't be able to send double teams. If you blitz Luka, he slips the pass to Jokic in the short roll and it's an automatic bucket or an open corner three every single time. The two-man game would be an absolute masterclass in offensive efficiency, leaving defensive coordinators completely helpless. The defensive limitations of having both players on the floor would be heavily masked by the sheer overwhelming force of their scoring output. But the front office faces a massive gamble in the meantime. Do the Lakers completely hoard their trade packages, future first-round picks, and salary cap flexibility for the next year just to stay in the Jokic sweepstakes? Or do they make win-now moves today that might take them out of the running for the three-time MVP? It's the ultimate front office dilemma. Is chasing the greatest pipe dream in Lakers history worth stalling the roster construction today?